So the proper translation for that prophecy would be the prince or princess who was promised will bring the dawn.
Doesn't really roll off the tongue, does it?
No, but I like it better.
And you believe this prophecy refers to me?
Prophecies are dangerous things. I believe you have a role to play.
Hello, my sweet summer children. I'm back with some juice to get you through the long nights. If you did not watch part 1 of this video, you need to do that first, or you're not going to know what the hell I'm talking about. I will link it for you in the description box and at the top of this video. Watch that first and then come back and watch this one. So we left off in part 1 speaking on R'hllor and the Great Other possibly being one thing. We did the memory, sorrow, and thorn comparisons, and we talked about prophecy in perspective. So let's not waste any time and let's get to the juice, because I think this might just be Arbor Gold. So the legend of Azor Ahai is not Westerosi. R'hllor is not Westerosi, but somehow this religion is prophesizing a warrior that will save Westeros. It's odd. It doesn't really fit. Why would a Westerosi savior be found in the ancient books of Asshai? How old are these ancient books? These are good questions, but answers are hard to find. So the timelines of events are all screwed up, and Sam points this out in A Feast for Crows. The oldest histories we have were written after the Andals came to Westeros. The first men only left us runes on rocks, so everything we think we know about the Age of Heroes and the Dawn Age and the Long Night comes from accounts set down by Septons thousands of years later. There are archmaesters at the Citadel who question all of it. Those old histories are full of kings who reigned for hundreds of years and knights of riding around 1,000 years before they were knights. You know the tales, Brandon the Builder, Simon Star Eyes, Night's King. We say that you're the 998th Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, but the oldest list I've found shows 674 commanders. So the timelines are all messed up. The first men didn't leave any records, they only left runes on rocks. We know that the Children of the Forest kept no scrolls or pages or books. They didn't need to. The trees hold all of their wisdom and memories. So who wrote in this ancient book in Asshai of this hero? Who wrote it and when? Well, this is where things get kind of insane. So I believe that Rhaegar read the Azor Ahai prophecy in the Jade Compendium. Maester Aemon kind of hints at this. He tells Sam to bring him the Jade Compendium, and he leaves it for Jon. He wants Jon to know that Azor Ahai's sword was said to be hot to the touch. He wants Jon to know that Stannis is false, basically because his sword is not hot to the touch. So I'm not 100% sure that this was the book that led Rhaegar to believe he was Azor Ahai, but it definitely could be. So the Jade Compendium is a book written by Koloko Votar. Probably fucked that up. A man from Volantis. The Jade Compendium is all of the legends and stories he heard while visiting the areas around the Jade Sea. That would be Asshai, Yeti, and Karth, and maybe some other places. So basically it's a book of urban legends and myths. So the way legends work is legends are passed down from person to person. Things are added, things are taken away. They aren't trustworthy. You have to look at them kind of like gossip. So a legend could ultimately be a prophecy that someone dreamt and then wrote down. But it's interesting that Azor Ahai is in the Jade Compendium, and the Jade Compendium is from legends surrounding the Jade Sea. It is from the area of the Jade Sea where we learn about the Bloodstone Emperor. The Bloodstone Emperor is said to have been the last ruler of the great empire of the Dawn, and he killed his sister, the Amethyst Empress, in order to usurp her throne, and it was this blood betrayal that allegedly ushered in the Long Night. When people, Melisandre in particular, talk about Azor Ahai, they conveniently leave out the tale of the Bloodstone Emperor. All of this hails from the same region and more than likely the same time period, because if the Long Night is ushered in, then there would need to be a hero to fight against it, if such a hero even exists. But such a hero might actually be a villain. So the legend of Azor Ahai and the legend of the Bloodstone Emperor are similar. They definitely parallel a bit. So let's go back. We need to back up a little bit. How does religion start? Have we seen any religions start in this series? We have. We got the story on how the Faceless Guild started, how people started to worship the many-faced god. We heard how the first gift was given by a man. A man heard the prayers of slaves and started killing folks and worshiping death. And boom, a religion was created. So the same could be said for R'hllor. And here's what I think happened. It was all a dream. R'hllor was started by a man who had a dream. And where do dreams come from? The Great Other. He wrote this dream. He told this dream to everyone. Soon the dream became legend, and the legend became the legend of Azor Ahai, a legend of a bleeding star and dragons waking from stone. But who fed these dreams to this man? Who fed visions into the flames? The Great Other or the Night King or whoever was allegedly created by the Children of the Forest. Now, on the show, I think we got a simplified version of how that actually happened. But if the Night King was created by the Children of the Forest, then he has access to the Weirwood net. We see an example of this when the Night King comes through Bran's Weirwood vision, and he can actually physically touch him. The only person that should be able to touch him are people that he's in visions with. Like, for example, when Bloodraven touches him, they are both accessing the Weirwood net together, and Bloodraven has the ability to touch him. Then we have a second example that the Night King has access to the Weirwood net because the Night King laid a trap for Jon and company. He knew they were coming. He knew they were coming beyond the wall to capture a white. He pushed them in the direction of the mountain with the arrowhead, not through a dream, but through the flames. Now you're probably like, well, how the hell is the Night King accessing the flames? Well, go back to Jojen's quote. Ice or fire, it makes no difference. It doesn't matter.
There's a mountain. Looks like an arrowhead. The dead are marching past.
So the Hound having the dream of the mountain with the arrowhead, it doesn't happen in the books. This part was specifically added for the show, but it was similar to a Melisandre vision that she had in the Flames, which portrayed Bloodraven and Bran in a really scary, as like creepy and untrustworthy people. And then she sees skulls and she sees towers taking a hit. So not only can the Night King affect the Weirwoods and access their ability, he can also likely access the flames and send messages through them as well. He could be spreading his messages all through Essos as we know it. However, I do want to clarify, this is theory, this is not fact, so take whatever I'm saying with salt. But hear me out and make your own decision. So the Night King and the White Walkers have been existing in the north for a long time. They never were able to pass the wall. So in order to pass the wall, what do? First thing you do from your ice cave is you access the Weirwood net and you look into the future and you see when dragons will emerge back in the world and you set your date to pass the wall at that time. Then once dragons are born into the world again, what do? You send your message to every red priest in Essos that Daenerys is Azor Ahai, the savior. She needs to come to Westeros with her dragons and save Westeros. Then you send a message to another red priest that someone else is Azor Ahai. That someone is Stannis Baratheon. But why Stannis Baratheon? What did Melisandre convince Stannis to do? She convinced Stannis to commit the same sin that the Bloodstone Emperor committed, blood betrayal, the very thing that ushered in the Long Night. Also, while you have Melisandre doing your dirty work, you conveniently send her visions to make her distrust Bran and Bloodraven. So then Daenerys comes to Westeros with her dragons and he kills one of them and wakes it from stone. He had to know this was going to happen because he had chains ready in the lake to pull Viserion out. This had to happen in the lake. He picked this spot. He couldn't take the chance of another dragon igniting Viserion's body on fire and rendering him useless. He needed the dragon to drop in the lake and underwater, and that's why he didn't kill Drogon. Drogon was right there, even closer to him, but Drogon was on land. Drogon could have been burned and rendered useless. But really, think about this. He waited for a dragon and he woke a dead one. And a dragon is the only reason that he got past the wall. So I ask you, who is Azor Ahai? I've always and partially still believed that Daenerys is Azor Ahai. She fits every part of the prophecy, but then I also remember what George R. Martin's words say. Prophecies are, a double-edged sword. You have to handle them very carefully. I mean, they can add depth and interest to a book, but you don't want to be too literal or too easy. Is Daenerys too easy? Is Daenerys too literal? I mean, it's very literal. When the Red Star bleeds, she's reborn amidst salt and smoke, waking dragons from stone. Literally, verbatim, she does these things. Would he make it that easy? The more ironic approach to this is for it not to be what we obviously think that it is. And I believe the fandom obviously thinks it's either Jon or Daenerys. We are led to believe that it's Jon and Daenerys because we are told that the prince who was promised will come from the line of Rhaella and Aerys, and they are the only two people alive in the story that come from the line of Rhaella and Aerys. But we are told this from Barristan Selmy, who heard this from the Ghost of Highheart, or a Woods Witch. The Ghost of Highheart gets her dreams from the Weirwood.net. We already know where dreams come from. Dreams can be influenced by the Night King or anyone that has access to the Weirwood net. And we know that the Ghost of Highheart was likely wrong about Summerhall, and she got her friend or her daughter or whoever she was, Jenny of Oldstones, killed, and she gorged on grief because of this at Summerhall. But does Azor Ahai sound like a good person? He stabbed his wife through the heart. Does he sound like a hero? He doesn't to me. Heroes are men like Davos that protect the weak and stand up for those who can't stand up for themselves. A hero tells hard truths and defies the king he loves even when he knows it may cost him his life, all for the greater good. And this is what Davos thinks of Azor Ahai compared to himself. When he thought of Nissa Nissa, it was his own Maria he pictured, a good-natured, plump woman with sagging breasts and a kindly smile, the best woman in the world. He tried to picture himself driving a sword through her and shuddered. I am not made of the stuff of heroes, he decided. But Davos is a hero. It's Azor Ahai that isn't. When the Red Star bleeds, Azor Ahai shall be reborn amidst salt and smoke, waking dragons from stone. Now, in the show, we are much farther than the books, but I'm going to take a crack at this anyway. So Cersei is likely to burn the Sept of Baelor with wildfire in the books. I think we can probably all agree on that. This is very likely to happen. And almost at the same time, Daenerys comes to Westeros just as Cersei is crowned queen. I don't think this will change. Funny thing is, Cersei slaughters the Faith of the Seven, the High Sparrow and all of his little sparrows. The Red Star that bleeds could very well be the slaughter of the Faith of the Seven. The warriors of the Faith have red stars carved into their bodies, and the stars bleed. Azor Ahai is not being reborn. Reborn is a figure of speech, like coming again. He's the Night King, and he's gathering his strength, he's making his army, and he's waiting for his dragon to be delivered to him so he can wake it up and breach the wall and wreak havoc on the world. Now, why I think this version would be so ironic is because if this were true, the prophecy of Azor Ahai is a false messenger, and Azor Ahai is really the enemy. R'hllor is really not a thing. It's really a ploy of the Night Kings, unbeknownst to its followers. It's a ploy used to be a tool to spread this false message. So the things he needs to happen will happen. Maybe that's why Melisandre is more powerful at the wall, because her god, R'hllor, is closer than she thinks. And she is indeed in service to Azor Ahai, and he's coming with an army, and she doesn't even know it. So this would mean that Lyanna and Rhaegar never needed to elope. That means that Robert's rebellion never needed to happen. That means a lot of people didn't need to die. That means Rhaegar lived his whole life to fulfill a prophecy that never ever had anything to do with him. Prophecy is like a treacherous woman. She takes your member in her mouth and you moan with the pleasure of it and think, how sweet, how fine, how good this is. And then her teeth snap shut and your moans turn to screams. That is the nature of prophecy, said Gorgon. Prophecy will bite your prick off every time. So what do you think? Do you think the Night King could be Azor Ahai? And what do you think about Valor and the Great Other being the same thing? Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thanks for watching. Thanks to everyone that supports me on Patreon. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and join the Sweet Summer family. Okay, my sweet summer children, have a good day.
Shame. Shame.